Елена Олеговна, запись идет, а где должна появиться? So, hello, dear colleagues. I'm so pleased to take part in today's webinar. Actually, it's my first webinar I've ever had, so I feel a bit excited. And today, let's talk about teaching English through drama. Teaching English through drama is not a new approach, and its beginning can be traced to the 70s when the communicative approach was widely used. And today we will cover some theoretical topics, but I think that you are more interested in some practical activities. So let's start with the first activity. So, hello, Daria. I'm so happy to see you. At least not only me here. Well, so we will start with the activity which is called brain button. This activity helps to encourage blood circulation in the body. It helps the students to concentrate, and it's a perfect way to warm up. So to do this activity, you need to use your index and thumb fingers. You put them a bit down your bones on the neck, and you place your right hand on your abdomen. So, and you massage these holes for about 30 seconds. So let's do it for 10 seconds then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Then you change your hands and you place your right hand fingers and your left hand on the abdomen, and you move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we are ready to go to the next slide. And for that slide, I have got a question for you. Do you know who is this person? No, okay. So one Japanese student said about her that she's so big, her mind is big, her heart is big, her ideas are big, and she thinks children big, their abilities and their possibilities. This person is Dorothy Heathcote. Unfortunately, she died in 2011, but she was a drama teacher and actually a pioneer in ELT. She was also an academic who invented the mantle of the expert approach and many other revolutionary dramatic inquiry approaches to teaching and learning. She used drama as a learning medium, and actually she's famous for using this approach not only for studying literature, but also for other subjects in the curriculum. And she thought about children as they actually have enough knowledge to learn from each other. So she also worked with some students with special needs, the students from poor areas or the students with some mental diseases. So that's Dorothy Heathcote. And I'm sorry, I've got something on the screen. Okay, let's skip to another one. Okay, so now that it's the think time, and I will ask the other participants to think about what is drama? How do you understand this term? Just you have some minutes to type in. What do you think drama is? So you think it's a play, a game, okay, that's true. Drama is a combination of play and game, if we may say so. Well, if we refer to the definition of drama, which Holden, for example, has. So Holden defines drama as any activity where the student himself or another person act in an imaginary situation. Yes, Daria, it's in creative process. It's a creative process, exactly. And the thing is that drama is not a theater, and it's very important to understand that when we talk about theater, we have actors, we have some words to be learned, and we have rehearsals. When we talk about drama, everything is just spontaneous. Children act, they live in that moment, in that time. We do not create anything. We do not have words which must be learned by heart. So it's just a medium for the language. Okay, so okay, just a second. Wow. Now you can look at the screen and you could see some pictures. Can you look? Can you just have a look and tell me about advantages of using drama in LT? What do you think? What message do you think I have here? Will you type in some thoughts? So what are the advantages of drama? The children are enjoying, the children are having fun. What else can you see? If we talk about classroom, what do you think? We can see a picture where the teacher is actually in despair and it's a complete mess. A bit chaos. So is it an advantage of drama, of being chaotic? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? What do you think about do you speak English picture? Or the student with some thoughts in his or her head? I'm sorry, I have a technical question. У меня вылезла вот такая штука. Что мне с ней сделать? Не пойму. Можно закрыть как-то? Вижу, я просто думала, не позже. Нету, вот вижу. Okay. Okay, sorry, that was a technical issue here. Okay, so you said it's a big chaos. What do you think about spies? We have the pictures with the spies, with, do you speak English? Yes, Liebe. I expect you all to be independent, innovative, critical thinkers who will do exactly as I say. So think about drama. What issues do we have here? And what do you think, what are the solutions? Okay, anything else to add? So I actually... Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we'll continue. Sorry, it's again about some technical problems. Okay, so let's look at this picture with the class in a mess. What is the advantage of drama? When the teacher uses drama approach, the students are really they are submerged into the process. So the teacher and the class, they act as the whole. The task of a teacher is to build a rapport with the students. It means that building a good rapport, it's the same as having good relationship with your students. It means that you act together. You do not have any confrontations. and you actually work on the same task. And in that case, that drama suits perfect for classroom management. You do not have bad behavior, you do not have lazy students, you have all the students involved into the learning process. If we look at the other picture, do you speak English? Yes, Libya. Unfortunately, teachers, they do not have so much time in the classroom, or they do not know how to manage the time, how to deal with the time, how to deal with time management in the classroom, to allow the students to have more speaking time, to have less teacher talking time, and to have more students talking time. In that case, drama activities provide perfect basis for communication, for discussion, for collaboration, and for actually for practice, for English practice. Of course, drama is the same, is equals creativity. You see the picture with the elephants. These are my students, they are primary students I used to work with, and here we played a game with elephants. You see, the students, they made a craft, and the elephants, they have the hole, so the students could put their fingers inside and talk as elephants move. So actually the elephants became alive. So the other picture shows the children playing, role playing, and in that case they also the drama here helps the students to collaborate, to feel, actually to use the imagination, and to work perfectly as a team. When the students role play or do some games, like drama games, they let their guard down. They do not worry about mistakes they have in the speech. They actually feel safe in the classroom, and they're not afraid to talk, especially in role plays. We often give them like they usually wear a mask, and when we wear a mask, we behave as if we are someone else, and in that case, we feel safe. Like if I put on my hat, yeah, I can be a detective, or I can be a boy, or I can be a journalist, and I start behaving and talking on behalf of that character. Sorry. So the picture with the puzzle pieces shows us that all children are different. They have different needs and they have different abilities. So in that case, drama is diverse. Drama suits everyone. Doesn't matter whether this person is talented or gifted, whether it's uh, whether it's level the level of the student is high or low. So drama actually sets all the pieces together, and of course, children behave as independent thinkers. They do not do only what the teacher wants them to do. They are free to act and to say what they want to say. And in that way, drama is a spice of ELT because it suits so many developments together, like social, physical, intellectual, creative, and emotional parts of our developmental process. And we call it a spice of ELT. And in that way, drama is holistic. And now let's go to the next slide. Well, so some teachers, they really want to use drama in their classroom, but they have some fears and maybe doubts. So will you type in any thoughts of a teacher, like any fears? What do you think they might be? What can stop teachers from using drama? in the classroom. Okay, for example, the teacher may say, I'm not a drama teacher, I'm not an actress or an actor. I don't want to have any noise in my classroom. Classroom is not for fun. What else? Do you use drama in your class? Do you use drama activities? Hello? Okay. Okay. So I hope you do not have such fears as like, well, I won't be able to deal with my learners. It will be so much mess and it might be so much noise in my classroom. Some teachers may think that it's time consuming. I don't have time for that. Well, it needs some preparation. Some teachers, they just don't know what to do. And some teachers may feel that they do not have enough talent or whatever which they need to show in the classroom. So what to do if we have things like that? Of course, preparation is the main thing. Of course, you need to be prepared for such classes. The good thing is to have some space, because it's quite difficult to act when you are just sitting at the desk, or you do not let your students to move around the classroom. You need to think about the noise in your classroom as not a noise, but as a sound of working, as buzzing bees, or which are working. So it's the sound when children actually learn. They learn from each other and they learn from you, and actually you start learning from them. And now it's time to present some activities you may do in your classroom, which can make your classes more fun, more productive, and more valuable in just in the frames of learning and education. So, well, okay. I took this story from Spotlight 8, and this is the story. Actually, it's a writing task, and perhaps you're familiar with the story. This is the story about four boys, four friends, who were wandering in the forest, and they found a hole in the ground, and they decided to go and explore what might it be. And when they entered this cave, they found some paintings, colorful paintings, like ancient paintings, and they were praised for this finding. And actually, they felt really proud because they discovered a cave with the ancient people drawings. So this is the story, and the task from the textbook is just to read the story, just to think about what could the story be about, and just listening activity, and then the teacher has the task as a homework to write a story, like the same story the children might create, or maybe they have heard somewhere. So it's just a writing type. So what can we do with this story? As about the presentation, it's not necessary just to show or just to read the text. The teacher may start with the question like, what is cave painting? Like, have you ever heard about cave paintings? How do they look like? And then the teacher acts like the teacher is in a role. May say that today we are going to the cave. Have you ever been to the cave? So no, or yes or no, we just collect the answers, and then the teacher says that it's not a usual cave. This cave is quite unusual because it has some paintings, some drawings, and then you speculate on what types of drawings we may see in this type of cave, and you may ask your students to make some drawings, and then you put it on the board and you have a kind of discussion, and then you may think about some words which might be useful for the students to understand the story. The words that might be unfamiliar for the students, like for example treasure or torch, or perhaps it could be to examine, something like this. And you can play an activity like that. You can pre-teach this vocabulary, which you think might be useful for your learners. And then you can play a game which is called 10 seconds object. This game could be played in small groups, which is quite good for the big classes, because every learner can be involved in this activity. So you divide your class into small groups, and you call out the name of the object, and the groups have to think very fast on how they should make this object just using their own bodies. So they join together just in 10 seconds and perform it together. So the teacher observes these kind of statues, and then you go to the next one. So of course, for the lower level students, the examples could be like a car, like a breakfast, it could be like a cave, treasure, whatever. Or for the higher level students, you may use some actions or set expressions or just phrases to show. For example, let's have a look at these pictures, at these photos. So you see some students, okay. I can see someone, yeah, okay. So if you look at the first photo, the students, they're raising their hands up. What do you think is the object? Can you guess the object? Can you type in the object? Okay, so the first one is umbrella. Okay, the second, these are adult students, and they show a peacock, and the children, it's like a kind of group of children standing with some hands above. They show the tree, and this activity is also perfect for alphabet, for very young learners who just have started to learn alphabet and the sounds. So you can teach, you can work with vocabulary in more fun way. And the next activity is whoosh. Well, what do we usually do with the text? We read, either students or the teacher, you read together, you just follow the lines. So in that case, whoosh is a great activity for the whole class. The teacher chooses roles, and it's not only people, but it could be objects also. Like in our story, it could be a cave, the trees, it could be teacher, it could be children, even the paintings. So the teacher arranges the roles, and the whole group stands or sits in a circle. It's just, it would be great if you have enough space. So all the students have the opportunity to participate in the telling of a story and become an object or a character. So when the teacher starts reading, the students make like a magic whoosh, 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 and they perform the object. Like In our story, we have children wandering through the forest. So when the teacher says this, the children were wandering through the forest, so the forest starts moving, and the children try to walk through the trunks of the trees. Well, when the teacher feels that there are so many students now, or it's a bit chaos or something, it says whoosh, and everybody comes back to their places. So it's a great time for it's a great for performing skills. It's great activity for listening, and it also helps the students to understand the story better, and actually to look at each other and to understand each other better. Because maybe when you just read the text, the students don't have an opportunity to learn more about the teacher and the students. So it's a great way to build rapport. Well, when the students are familiar with the story, the teacher may play freeze frames. Freeze frames are nowadays quite popular. Perhaps you even might have taken a part in it. You know, when people, they just pause, and the camera is following them in a slow motion, and you have a kind of freeze picture, like a frozen picture. So freeze frames works the same. Freeze frames just the students need to use their bodies, and the teacher just tells them the part of the plot. Like, for example, can you show me the picture how the students were entering the cave? How did they go? How did they go down to the cave? So 1, 2, 3, and the students freeze and they try to show this scene. So you can. It's like to make a picture. It's almost the same. So you may practice several pictures with the different steps of the story, with the different stages of the story, and then you may ask them, the students, to do the thought tracking activity or the thought tapping. Oh, sorry, I didn't put T. Thought tracking. Okay, so it's the same as the previous activity, but when you come back to the piece of a story, and your students again, they poses and they make these pictures, and that way you explain that this time you will come to each student and you will tap the shoulder, and the student needs to tell what he or she is thinking about. Like, for example, unfortunately, we can't do it right now with our story, but you can see the cartoon on the screen and the bubble, the thought bubbles. So, like, the boy could think about the penguin. Oh my goodness, I've never thought a penguin in my life. Or lost and found office man may think about, oh, I've never had, or I'm too tired, I don't want any penguins in my office, or something like this. So it's a good activity for spontaneous expressions, like language, using language in spontaneous situation. It's a good way to unleash the creativity of your students. Of course, it's fun. And the students may talk not only as characters, but also as objects, like stones or even the shovel or whatever. So it brings the literature, to life, and you have more language impact if we compare it to the usual classroom. Okay. So the teacher and role is a very good strategy. And, well, as it says, it involves stepping into somebody else's shoes. There's something happened with the slide. Okay. It's like stepping into somebody else's shoes. Like in our story, unfortunately, we didn't read it. So if we come back to our story, We have several characters there as 4 friends, and we have a school teacher. We have the expert who had confirmed that the boys were the first modern people to lay eyes upon the famous Lascaux paintings. And perhaps we could even have a headmaster. So the teacher acts as one of the characters, or it might be the teacher may act as an object. For example, the teacher may be a stone in the forest, and the learners can ask this stone some questions like, what did you see that evening? How many boys were there? What about their, how did they look like? What were they wearing? So it's not what we have in the text, but it's what you can talk for yours. You can create for yourself. And when you just work here, you just act here as a teacher, as an example. And then later your students may do the same. They may wear this mantle of an expert and act on behalf of the characters. For example, okay, let's read just the story and I will show you. Like, it was a beautiful afternoon in the woods near the village of Montignac. The sky was blue and autumn leaves covered the ground. 4 friends strolled happily among the tall trees, telling stories about treasures that people had hidden in the forest. As they were walking, one of the boys fell over. Ouch! When the others ran to help him, they saw that there was a hole in the ground. Could this be a tunnel with hidden treasures in it? The boys started to dig, trying to make the hole bigger so that they could climb in and have a look. By this time, though, it was getting dark, and they didn't have a torch, so they decided to come back early the next day. They returned to the woods before school. One by one, the boys lit their torches and crawled into the small, dark tunnel. After about 10 minutes, the boy who was in the front let out a loud gasp. When he pointed his torch at the wall, everyone was amazed to see the walls covered with colorful pictures of horses, deer, and oxen. The friends ran quickly to school and told their teacher all about their fantastic discovery. She called an expert who went immediately to examine the paintings. Later that day, their teacher asked the boys to stay behind after school. They thought that they had done something wrong, but they were relieved when they saw their teacher's smiling face. The expert had confirmed that the boys were the first modern people to lay eyes upon the famous Lascaux paintings, which were at least 17,000 years old. They felt really proud. So when the teacher acts as a person, as a character of the story, it's better to have something like a kind of an object so the students can see the shift. Like, for example, the teacher can use the hat again, and the teacher could be a headmaster, for example. Here, they actually we play this game as the hot seat game. I hope you know someone is sitting at the chair, and the others, they ask the questions. And the children can ask you, like, you act as a teacher, you act as a headmaster, and you encourage your students to ask you some questions about how did you know about the story? What do you think about the boys? Will you punish them, or will you praise them? What will you do after? Will you go, I don't know, will you have a kind of a project, whatever they can ask you as a character. And usually, what do we ask as teachers? We ask our students to retell the story. But it's boring, and usually the students do not like this activity. As I used, well, I didn't actually. I used to do lots of retelling exercise when I was at school. I don't like this type of activity at all. Oops. Okay. So what can we offer our students? They can act as an expert, or they can also act as someone else, and they can ask each other questions. Or we may also choose a person to sit on the chair and ask the questions for him. In that way, when the student is familiar with the plot, he or she will be able to retell, but in more natural way. Like we can present the student, like for example, we can say, Masha, you will be a boy from the story. Okay, okay. So you put a hat on, for example, and Masha is not Masha anymore. She is a boy from the story. And we ask her some questions like, oh, Masha, let us, for example, we can create an environment where Masha was invited to the show, the TV show, or the TV news program, where she is being interviewed, and the reporter has some questions for her to answer. Like, were you scared when you saw this hole? How did you decide to get into? Um, what equipment did you need to bring? Why didn't you go the first day? Or why didn't you tell your parents? Did you tell your parents? And so they collect the facts. And as this is a kind of a writing activity, the students then may write a report to the local or to the school newspaper, and you can have it as a kind of a project. So in that way, they interview each other. Um, the teacher has less teacher talking time, and the students have more possibilities to talk, and they are not afraid to make any mistakes, because the teacher just only monitors, but the teacher doesn't interfere there. Well, let's come back to our tasks. Yeah, and I hope I will manage to show a video with interview how actually this activity works.
Good morning, and thank you very much for this interview. What is your name?
Ignacio,
How old are you, Ignacio?
11,
And where do you live?
in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Exactly your address?
837 Piedras Street.
Can you tell me this story about the penguin?
Yes. The penguin knocks at the door, and I opens the door. I can see a penguin. The penguin is lost.
A penguin in downtown Buenos Aires.
Yes.
And what happened next?
I went to the lost and found office, and the man said, sorry, I don't have any penguin in my list.
And then what happened?
I went to the park.
And what did the bird say?
The bird said, sorry, I don't know where a penguins come from.
And tell me, will you help the penguin?
Yes. I will take the penguin to my rowboat and row and row and row to the South Pole.
Oh, thank you very much for this interview.
You're welcome.
This is Miss Laura, reporting for Channel 11, downtown Buenos Aires. Good morning, and thank you very much for this interview. What is your name?
Ignacio.
Okay, so you see that, of course, this boy, is a special need boy, of course. Student, he like didn't create the story by himself, but he had a kind of a basis, a story he had already read with his teacher, and then they worked with the story as with the real life situation, and in that way, this language became useful and this language just helped him to improvise, and he acquired far more language units than usually, like students usually after ordinary retelling. Well, okay, yeah, let's see now. Yeah, I would just come back to the. Oh, this is the first time. I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Well, so I think it's time for questions. Yes, question times. Do you have any? Well, you might ask me like, where should we find information about the classes, about using drama? Well, you can, yes, if you have any questions and you want to get some sites or activities I have. So you can send me a letter to Natalia down p35 at hotmail.com, and I will send you the list of resources and activities I would recommend. Well, actually, as about drama approach, I'm not very skillful in that, and it's like, of course, I use it role plays, and I use some drama activities with my students. But like the course which inspired me, really inspired me, well, I took a couple of months ago. It was online course for Susan Hillier, who is amazing in her drama, proficiency. And I would highly recommend to follow her webpage. And of course, you may find lots of information in the internet. So I hope you will have some questions and you won't be too shy to send me a mail on my address, So thank you very much for your attention. I hope to see you next time. What am I supposed to do?